The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. Of course, I'm your Commander-in-Chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. So, you've had 24 hours to process this, okay? I literally was on live at this very same time yesterday with a video that was entitled, Brace Yourself, okay? and so many of you were in absolute denial, right? That you started reaching and grabbing for alternatives. Hey, maybe they're waiting for someone in Kansas City's coaching staff. Maybe they're waiting for someone on San Francisco. Maybe they're waiting for Steve Wilkes, as if he's not a retread. And I specifically told y'all yesterday, they're done. Adam Peters went to Mobile. He's not leaving the interview process to go to Mobile to scout prospective NFL talent if this process wasn't finished, okay? They knew who they were going to hire already. And it was going to be either Anthony Weaver or Dan Quinn, one of the two. And we didn't know which one, but we knew it was going to be one of the two. And I tweeted out yesterday, it's either Anthony Weaver or Dan Quinn. It's one of the two, and I honestly don't know what they're waiting on. Make a decision and let's move on. And so here we are. Washington has made its decision. Dan Quinn is going to be the next head coach of the Washington Commanders. Gotcha, bitch. He was in the division plotting and scheming the entire time. And when the opportunity finally presented itself, he pounced, right? He pounced and he got his position. And I'll say this. There's going to be no convincing you that this is going to work. And I'm not going to sit here and try to convince you that this is going to work. Just like all of you, I'm going to sit back and allow this situation and process to play itself out. I've already told you that no matter what happened this offseason, I was going to trust the process. I was going to trust that they were going to make the right decisions. And I'm going to allow this thing to start anew. I'm not going to take the baggage from the last situation and from the Snyder era and bring it over to the Harris era. I'm going to allow this situation to play itself out. If it doesn't work, we will criticize them just like we used to criticize Snyder and company, and we'll go forward from there. But I'm going to allow this to play out. Everybody's second opportunity doesn't look the same. And you can't sit here and put the Rivera 2.0 label on Dan Quinn and say that he's going to be exactly like him. He may absolutely turn out to be Rivera 2.0. We don't know. Again, as I mentioned yesterday, he could turn out to be Bill Belichick or Mike Shanahan or one of these guys, Andy Reid, who had a crazy chapter 2, right? We don't know. All we know is that they thought he was the best man for the job of the candidates that were left. It's no secret that Ben Johnson was their number one option. He reneged and went back to Detroit. They went to option B. It was Dan Quinn. We move forward. We'll see what happens. I'm going to tell you this much, though. I am confident about this. He's going to kick some ass in this division. The Giants could barely score against them. They outscored the Giants 155 million to 2 this season. And he had the Eagles offense pretty much wrapped the hell on up like a damn mummy. Okay. Should have beat them the first time, smoked their ass the second time. So I feel really good about at least that aspect of things. He knows these offenses within the division feel really good. And yep, Dallas, or rather Philadelphia has a new offensive coordinator. I'm not scared of Kellen Moore. I didn't know who was coming in here, but I'm not afraid of Kellen Moore. Just like they're probably not afraid of us. Don't matter. Not afraid of Kellen Moore. Not afraid of anybody in this division. So that's one thing I will say I am feeling good about. But outside of that, don't really know what the hell we just signed up for. Maybe we did sign up for Rivera 2.0. Who's to say? I'm not going to put that on this man, okay? We'll see how this situation turns out. But for all of you morbid gloom and doomers, I don't have nothing for you, okay? I wish I had more to offer you in terms of, joining the pity party with you, but that's not how I operate. Y'all know that, okay? So whether we're sitting in this exact spot 3 years from now and we haven't moved an inch, or we've pushed the ball forward and we're a totally different team in 3 years, who knows? All right. This is the decision that they made. They were looking for a leader. One thing we've heard about Dan Quinn is he's a leader. We heard the same thing about Ron Rivera, which is why I'm not going to try to convince you that this is different, because anything that I say, anything that anybody says, you're going to be able to refute it by saying they said the same thing or Rivera said the same thing. I got nothing for you. Okay. I got nothing. I told you yesterday, this was going to be a hard sell to the fan base. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is going to be a hard sell to the fan base. But they can't operate. They being Harris and company can't operate in trying to appease the fan base. If you're trying to do that, you'll never win. I've already told you, this fan base is all over the damn place. I've been absolutely stunned at just how asinine this fan base has been over the last 48 hours. Looking at all of the different things that have transpired and how we've conducted ourselves as a fan base, we should be ashamed. Okay? This fan base showed their ass over the last 48 hours. And it's a damn shame. And all I could do was sit and laugh. That's what prompted me to do the video 2 days ago, because fans were showing their ass. Instead of acting with class, you were showing your ass. So there's no appeasing this fan base. At this point, we're so fractured. We're so damaged. We have so much PTSD. There's no appeasing this fan base, because you and I or nobody else knew exactly what Ben Johnson was going to be. The only difference between hiring Ben Johnson and Dan Quinn is in namesake. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if Ben Johnson could have been Adam Gase 2.0. You don't know. You have no idea what Ben Johnson was going to be. All we knew is he was great at X's and O's. You know who else was great at X's and O's? Adam Gase. You know who else was great at X's and O's? Josh McDaniels. You don't know what we were getting had Ben Johnson come here, but you would have been excited, just like we were excited about EB last year. You would have been head over heels, right? At the end of the day, all you can do is just let the process play out. You may ultimately be vindicated. You may ultimately be right that this is a bullshit ass move, okay? And that we got Ron Rivera 2.0 and we essentially ran on a hamster wheel in place and we didn't push the ball forward at all. You may ultimately be proven right 2 to 3 years from now. But sitting here right now on February 1st, 2024, you can't say that. And too many of you have already jumped to that conclusion. And that's sad. That's like you making a mistake at the age of 20 and then 5-6 years later, everybody's still giving you grief over that mistake you made 5 years ago. And you're saying, I'm different. I've changed. Please don't judge me on what I did 5 years ago. And everybody's like, no. You're still the same guy. Trust me. And you're like, no, I'm not. I've changed. I swear to you, I'm not that guy that I used to be. And you're like, and everybody's like, no, you're pretty much the same dude. Like, you can't do that. I know you don't want to hear that. And as I told my wife, I said, they're not going to be trying to hear any of this shit. I don't blame you. I do not blame you at all. You're not trying to hear this shit. And I get it. And that's what they're going to have to deal with. The good thing is they don't give a shit. And they shouldn't give a shit. The only thing that is going to change the narrative, and I said this yesterday, and I'm adamant about it, as adamant as I've ever been before. The only thing that is going to change the minds of any of the fans is winning. I said this, and I think I said it very eloquently yesterday. In this fan base, there's so many different languages being spoken right now because fans have so many different agendas and their minds are all over the place. And in order to get everybody on the same page, speaking the same language, you got to win. That's the only universal language that exists inside of this fan base, is winning. People will have different methods of getting to winning. People will have different agendas. We need to change. We need to rebrand, need a new name, need new jerseys, need a new stadium, right? All this other shit that doesn't matter. They'll be worried about all of that external shit. Everybody's speaking a different language. The only universal language is winning. Something we haven't done enough of. And until that happens, fans will continue to speak various languages, and none of this shit will make any sense. So they can try, and somebody I saw coming in on the way in, somebody said, well, I'll just wait for the press conference. What the hell difference is that going to make? There ain't a damn thing Dan Quinn can say to me to convince me that this is any different than Ron Rivera or his first stint in Atlanta. There's nothing he can say to me. The only thing that's going to show me that it's different, show you that it's different, is action, right? It's action. And I'm going to give him that opportunity. Unlike some of you, I'm going to give him the opportunity to show that this isn't Atlanta circa 2016, circa 2017, 18, 19. I'm going to give him an opportunity to show that. I actually would like it to be Atlanta circa 2016. I would like that, actually. But we'll see. The press conference isn't going to get me this time. That's something I can assure you of. The press conference will not be a deciding factor as to how I feel. I'll listen. I want to hear what he has to say. I want to hear what they have to say. And they're going to give us some mumbo jumbo about how this was an exhaustive process. And we went through this process thoroughly with a fine tooth comb. And we examined all of the candidates. And it was a thorough search. But when we were done, we got the guy that we felt like was the best for this organization at this time. That's what they're going to tell us. Is that true? Like the dude that was betting Jordan, the security guard. I don't know. I don't know if it's true or not. But that's what they're going to tell us. That's what they're going to feed us. And you can choose to eat it up or not. At the end of the day, Dan Quinn is the head coach. I've always told you this. All right. He is now a member of the family. Whether you like it or not, he's coming to the cookout. He's a part of you could be at the cookout whispering with another fan. Why is he here? I don't like his ass. He a part of the family now. Okay. You ain't got to like him. You ain't even got to talk to him. Don't acknowledge him. But he a part of the family, and he going to be at all the family functions now. So you ain't got to like him. But he here now. And he eating the same food you eating. He conversing with the same people you conversing with. So either you going to get down or you're not. But he a part of the fam now. So welcome him with open arms. You can stand mad in the corner if you want. But he's still coming inside. He's still coming to have a good time. So do what you want to do, man. I'm just telling you. It ain't shit you can do. This is why I always tell y'all, why y'all getting so mad? You mad. You big mad. Why you mad? Don't be mad. Because you don't have no control over this. Don't be mad. Just see how it's going to play out. Just see how it's going to play out. At the end of the day, the fan base was going to be upset one way or the other. Because once you didn't get Ben Johnson, once you didn't get Mike McDonald, you waited this late in the process, It was slim pickings at this point. And the fan base wasn't going to be happy with whatever you did at this point. I would have been more disappointed had they opened back up the pool to interview more candidates. That would have been a sign and an admission that, hey, we just wasn't feeling none of these dudes we already talked to. That would have made me feel some type of way. At least somebody of all the candidates they interviewed, at least somebody wowed them enough to say, all right, let's get this dude the job. So now we move forward. We see what Dan Quinn has in store for this team. We know we're going to play good defense. Well, I shouldn't say that. I take that back because I don't know exactly what he's going to do. He could bring in a defensive coordinator. We have no idea what he's going to do. He could bring in a defensive coordinator that's going to call the plays for him so that he can be a manager and oversee everything as the head coach and not be bogged down by the task of having to call the defense. Or he could say, and I don't know how he did it in Atlanta. I guess I got some homework to do as to whether he called the defense in Atlanta in his first tenure or if he allowed somebody else to do it. We're going to see. We're going to see. Because what I've recognized with defensive coordinators is both ways work. Robert Saleh allows Jeff Ulbrich to call the defense in New York with the Jets. That defense is lights out. In Houston, DeMeco Ryans, same coordinators that came from San Francisco, two different approaches as head coaches. Robert Saleh said, I'm going to let somebody else call the defense. I want to oversee the whole process. DeMeco Ryans said, I'm calling this defense. It's my baby. I'm going to make sure that I take good care of it. You handle the offense, Bobby. I'm going to go ahead and take care of this defense over here. We'll see what Dan Quinn decides to do. And maybe he learned from his first, episode as a head coach. And he said, I'm going to do it differently. And that's what you expect. What I don't want to see, and I'm going to clock this shit heavy, hard. What I don't want to see is him parade a bunch of dudes that was with him in Atlanta and bring their ass to Washington. That's the shit I don't like. That's that shit I don't like. I don't want to see that shit. I do know that. That shit that Ron did, making this shit Carolina 2.0, don't do that shit. Okay? I'll be clocking for that. So I want to see what kind of staff he builds and the dudes he brings in here. One of the things that we were told is if they hire Dan Quinn, he's going to be able to put together a pretty good staff. Okay, we'll see. We'll see. That's very important because Ron Rivera's staff won't hit on shit. That's one thing that was abundantly clear. His staff was cheeks, hot, fresh buns straight out of the oven. He brought the same dudes that got him fired from Carolina to Washington and looked for different results. Should have known something was off when he did that bullshit. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Dan Quinn, new head coach of the Washington Commanders. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted to be wrong yesterday. After I saw the tea leaves, after the whole Ben Johnson episode, I wanted to be wrong. But this seemed inevitable, which is why I tried to brace you for it. You can't say I didn't try to warn you. I tried. I tried to give you 24 hours to let it soak in. Nope. Y'all wanted to go reaching for alternatives instead of starting to allow the truth to sit and resonate and to let it have a chance to have those juices soak in, right? To let that truth marinate. Yeah, I didn't want to do that. Yeah, I didn't want to do that. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section. I know you guys have a lot to say. I've said everything that I needed to say already. I'm going to, so that we're clear on where I stand. Nope, I didn't want Dan Quinn. Nope, I'm not thrilled by the hire. Okay. Kind of indifferent. I'm not upset about it. Right. Sort of like how we felt about Carson Wentz when we first signed him or traded for him. We were like, I don't know how to feel. That was different. That caught me off guard. I didn't have a chance to wrap my brain around it first and come to grips with what was about to occur. I just had to react in the moment, spontaneously. That's not what's happening here. I had a chance to wrap my brain around this, to come to grips with what was about to occur. And so I'm fine. I'm going to allow this process to play itself out because, as I told you, before any of the hires were made, before we even got Adam Peters, I'm going to allow whatever's going to take place, and I'm going to trust whomever's in charge. I told you that when they hire the GM, I'm going to allow him to make all the decisions, and I'm going to just trust that he has the best interest of this club at heart and that he's making the right decisions. And whether they turn out to be the right decisions or not, I'm going to give him a chance to succeed or fail. We'll judge him accordingly. All right, let's get to the comment section. DC Booker, been a member for 27 months. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, now let's hire Anthony Weaver as defensive coordinator. I don't think that's going to happen. Honestly, if I'm Anthony Weaver, I would prefer to just get the Ravens defensive coordinator job. That's open, right? Mike McDonald is gone. Somebody's got to fill that void, right? Who's been more loyal than me? Anthony Weaver. Who's been more loyal? You don't need to look for other candidates. I'm right here. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Again, if you're Dan Quinn, you're looking for someone whose vision of what the defense is supposed to look like, the offense is supposed to look like, needs to be aligned. Hey, buzzword alert. You need an aligned vision. I don't know if Anthony Weaver's vision of what the defense is supposed to look like aligns with that of Dan Quinn, but we'll see. Mr. HTTR, thank you for being a member for 13 months, who writes, I'm here for the rides. Lego. Let's go, man. Let's do it. I just took a quick glance down at your comment. I thought you said, well, I'm done. I'm logging off. Oh, man. Anthony P. Been a member for 19 months. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, can we now please fire EB? Hey, I got the Birdman hand rub going, like waiting for them to announce that they've hired a new offensive coordinator. Because even if they don't tell me EB's gone, just hiring a new offensive coordinator lets me know he's no longer here in Washington. I honestly, I want the whole staff gone. There isn't a single positional coach that I vouch for on this staff. None of them. I'm sorry. I don't vouch for a single one. I don't think that we watched any particular position get better on this football team over time. The only positions that I thought you could maybe argue about were the defensive group, backs group, when Chris Harris was here, and running backs. Initially with Antonio Gibson being a receiver converting over to running back early in his career, but then he got stagnant. He didn't continue to grow. So maybe the running backs coaches, Jennifer King, and I forgot my man's name, but outside of them two, everybody else could pretty much go. I want I told you I want everything brand new. I don't want nothing back. Barrett Downing, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, let's just start the process, Lou. That's what we're doing. Rip the Band-Aid off, right? Here we go. Or as a wise man once said, here we go. Let's rip the Band-Aid off and let's go. That's what we're doing right now. Off and running. Let Drake cook. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, oh man, now pray to the gods we get rid of EB. Curious to see how the rest of the offseason goes. HTTC. Like I said, I really would like to clean house. Everybody can go. I'm not vouching for a single individual in that building. To be honest with you, I'm not even all that thrilled that they're keeping the two Martys in the building, but I'm not worried about them. They're not a threat. Okay? They're no longer threats. They've been diffused. Okay? Their powers have been stripped, and they're just a part of the process now, but they're not chief decision makers. They have a voice, but it carries little weight. That's the way it should be. But I already told you that Martin Mayhew was going to be back. I wasn't sure about Marty Herney, but I told you Martin Mayhew would be back because that's his boy. That's Adam Peters' boy. So I'm not shocked that he's back. Burger the Butcher. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Burger the Butcher writes, I'd rather fill out my taxes blind than take EB at OC this year. I'm telling you right now, he's not going to be here. And as nervous as I've been over the last 48 hours after learning about Ben Johnson's pivot, I think I've talked myself into, no, we're good. They're not that crazy, right? They've done their due diligence. They understand. Josh Harris got to see this thing up close and personal last year. He knows Eric Bieniemy's not cut out for this. He's got to know. And he's a smart guy. I'm not tripping. I'm not worried about it. Matib Khan. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, we need to nail the QB and OC. That's the most important thing now. Give me Clint Kubiak. We'll see what they decide to do. I don't know who Dan has in mind. Feels weird saying Dan again. That almost feels dirty. I may have to call him Quinn or DQ or something. I can't keep calling him Dan. Like, that just feels nasty. I don't know what Quinn has in mind as to what he will do with the offensive coordinator position and how they'll move there. That Clint Kubiak hire made a lot more sense when Anthony Weaver was in play because of his ties to Houston as well. Maybe not so much, but you just never know. We have no idea what this staff is going to look like. That's the next part of this process, right? Those are the next dominoes to fall, is to now start filling out. You've looked at how the other teams that have hired coaches have systematically filled their staff. That's what we're about to embark upon. And so those are going to be the next dominoes that fall here shortly. So we'll see what happens. And obviously getting the quarterback is going to be paramount, because if you miss on that, whether Quinn has been a great coach or not, you're probably going to be back here again in 3 years. You know what I'm saying? So the quarterback is huge. Reedy Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Les told Big Dan. I don't really know what that means, but go Dan Quinn. Yay. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I'm in the car with Adam Peters. GPS is set. Tank is full. Let's ride. I went full Alonzo Mourning gift, but DQ is fam now and knows the NFC East well. Yeah, I mean, you sat there, you went, like you started out shaking your head like, damn, how did we get here? Then you went, well, he does know the NFC East, so I mean, there's that. But all right, let's do it. Like that's what yesterday was about. You were supposed to go through that process right there, video channel, yesterday. Not denial, not searching for other answers and alternatives that didn't make any sense. That's the process you were supposed to go through yesterday. So you weren't going through it today, right? The initial shock of the situation, like, how the hell did we get here? Like, then you were supposed to say, you know what? Well, there's a bright side to this. And you try to convince yourself that, hey, may not be all bad. And then you just get to a place where you're like, okay, let's see what we got. Because ultimately, most of you are going to get to that point anyway. Why not start that process now? JB Johnson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, sources are saying Ben did not interview well. I don't really care at this point, JB, to be honest with you, because we're going to hear all types of shit. When, again, at this point, who do you believe? Look, that's not going to, the Commanders brass isn't going to come out publicly and say that Ben Johnson didn't interview well. They're not going to do that. And unless that happens, I don't trust anybody. I'm in the dead heat of draft season. And you know what the motto is. You know the mantra. Believe half of what you see, none of what you hear, even if it's spat by me, your man, Louie T. You know what it is. So now when, again, after something doesn't work or something doesn't go the way that you thought it was going to go, then you start the campaign of trying to belittle and demean that item, that thing, that person, so that it makes you look better. Being a fan of this team, you should know how that works, because that's the go-to move. We did it to Chase Young. We did it to Dwayne Haskins. May he rest in peace. That's the move, right? We did it to Scott McCloughan. That's the move. I don't want no parts of that shit. So I don't know if he interviewed well or not. Don't care. He's not here. He ain't a part of the family. Benjamin went back to Detroit. He made his decision. Bless him. Reedy Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, hope EB ain't OC. I don't think he's going to be. I feel good about that. But we'll see. We'll see. Stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened. But we will see. Layla Brown, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Layla writes, hi, Louie. What's going on, Layla? I have all I have to say is Layla, you are not alone. There are so many people who echo those sentiments. Exactly. Like there are no words, just sounds. Just sounds, you know? So you're not alone. Kino, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB Kino. Writes, I'm going to let Adam cook. We got our head coach. Let's roll. Time to focus on these FAs and draft prospects. I got faith. I won't let the old stuff define the new us. Yeah. That's the approach. That should be the approach of the fans. It's not going to be the approach of most of them, but it should be, right? Is in order to move forward, which I tried to flush all of the past with the Reign of Terror series. That was what it was designed to do. Let's flush the past, because the past is the past, and you can't move forward if you continue to look in the rearview mirror. You got to look through the windshield. Too many fans are stuck looking in that rear view. Ain't nothing back there. Nothing productive, at least. Look through the windshield. That's all I'm saying. How do you know if you're about to crash into something or not if you look in the rear view? If somebody hit you from behind, that ain't your fault. That ain't your fault. Even if it is your fault, it ain't your fault. We all know how it goes. But if you crash into something in front of you, that's your fault. So let's look through the windshield. 1/6 Devil Doc. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, this has been my team since 92. Uh-oh. This doesn't feel like it's going to go well. I'll always ride with them, even if we crash and burn the whip, like Rivera did when we drove off that cliff, hoping that Quinn learned from past mistakes and is a much better coach at this point. Oh, that actually went a lot more pleasantly than I thought it was going to go. Oh, surprised. Pleasantly surprised. That was way more pleasant than I was expecting. Yeah. I concur. 1/6 Devil Doc. I concur. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you and good to hear from you. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy JP writes, I'm not happy about this hire at all, Lou, but I'm willing to give the guy a chance because we have better owners now. But we're not going to win more than 5, maybe 6 games next year. You were doing well until you got to the end and made a definitive statement that you can't make at this point. You don't know how many games we're going to win. We could win less than 5 or 6 games. I doubt that, but you don't know. We didn't think we were going to win just 4 last year. Now, did we? At the end of the day, we're going to see. Let's just not make any definitive statements. Let's see how it goes. What's the harm in doing that? I don't understand why that's so hard for some of you to wrap your brains around. What's the harm in just saying, I don't like this shit. I think it's Rivera 2.0, but I'm going to just see what happens. How hard is it to just do that? I'm asking a question. I'm not telling you how to feel. I'm just asking a question. How hard is it to say, I disagree. I don't like this hire. I don't like this move. And I think in 3 years, we're going to be in the same spot we're in right now, but I'm going to allow it to play itself out. What's the harm in just doing that? That's why it's a struggle for me. I get it. You don't love this hire. I don't either. Okay? I'm not sitting here and telling you that this is a magnificent hire and this is a game changer, because even the truth of the matter is, there's a Rivera-ism. The truth of the matter is we don't know what the hell's going to happen no matter who the hire is. We don't know what Adam Peters is going to do. All we know is he's got a sparkling track record. That's a great place to start. I'd much rather that than the alternative, right? So, again, let's just see what happens. Let's not make definitive statements like we're only going to win 5 or 6 games. But, we'll see what happens. Thanks for the super chat, JP. Reedy Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, tell Dan we need to build, tell Quinn we need to build, we need to win, period. Well, that's the goal, right? That's always been the goal, is to try to win. Nobody gets into this business to try to lose. So it's a process. I think sometimes a lot of fans don't either understand that or don't want to hear that, but it is a process. And I see people changing the narrative every day. I've seen teams turn it around in 1 year, then it's 2 years. Fine. If you want to convince yourself that these turnarounds that you've seen of recent note have happened in a year or 2, go right ahead. I haven't seen one that has happened in more than 3 years. And I'm talking about a real rebuild, not one of these reloads where you just were down bad for 1 year because of injuries or something like that. I'm talking about an actual tear it down, fire everybody, rebuild this shit back up from scratch. I'm talking Houston. I'm talking Detroit. I'm talking situations like that. Those were 3-year rebuilds. Not 1, not 2, 3. Okay. So unless you've got proof of something that looks just like this, that happened quicker and results came faster, It's a 3-year process, bare minimum. And after what Rivera did to us, you're not trying to hear that shit. I know. But that's the truth of the matter. I crack myself up. King of the Bluegrass, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, I'm very optimistic about this coaching choice. I would be a lot more optimistic if they get Josh Daniels as OC and Coach Quinn improves his record in December through February, meaning stop the damn run game. We'll see. We'll see what he's able to do. There's a lot of good qualities that come with Dan Quinn. Unfortunately for him, there is a body of work that exists, and most of it is not favorable for him. And that's what he's going to be judged on until he changes the narrative. As humans, that is how it works. And that is how it's always going to work. You are judged on your body of work, just like your credit history. I'm not giving you as a bank money if I look at your body of work and this shit is trash and you've got a history of not paying people back their money, not paying shit on time. You're judged on your body of work. His body of work isn't great. Hence, people are going to be skeptical or downright upset and frustrated. I get it. He's going to have to change the narrative. Just like we're allowed to change our credit scores and our credit reports by having healthier financial behavior, he's allowed to change the narrative by going out and winning. The only way he's going to get an opportunity to do that is by getting an opportunity to do that. Here's his chance. Let's see what he does with it. DMV Bay. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, only way Quinn can succeed is if he hires a highly talented and next genius OC, maybe Kubiak or Greasy or Schottenheimer. We'll see. That OC hire is going to be critical, but so is the rest of the staff. Like, everybody's so laser-like focused on OC, and rightfully so, because when you're a defensive-minded guy, the OC matters. And this is the part that I struggle with, is if that guy that you're talking about is next level, somebody's coming to get him anyway in a matter of time. So you got to enjoy the success while you got it, because you're going to lose that at some point, right? So this model is not sustainable. It's not sustainable unless you have a built-in system where you can just find the next coach to come in and be successful as an offensive coordinator. This defensive head coach model, to me, is not sustainable, because at some point you're going to run out. Your luck is going to run out with coordinators on the offensive side of football, and it's going to catch up to you, and eventually it's going to get you fired. That's what's currently happening in Buffalo as we speak. So I'll just say this much. As much as that OC hire means, so does hiring an offensive line coach that's of great quality, a wide receivers coach, a defensive backs coach, a linebackers coach, a running backs coach, a quarterbacks coach, a tight ends coach. All of that shit matters. All of it matters. A pass game coordinator, if you have one of those, a run game coordinator, if you have one of those, D-line coach, all that shit matters. All of it does. Especially the offensive line. Especially the O-line. 16 double dot. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, biggest key will be who they hire as OC. If I recall correctly, wasn't Pat Shurmur considered a good OC and quarterback whisperer? At one point, I think he was. I don't know if he's viewed in that same way any longer. But at one point, yeah, Shurmur was pretty good with quarterbacks and He's been an OC in this league multiple times over. He's been solid, but nobody's beaten the door down to go get Pat Sherman, which is why he's not working right now. So, Brandon J, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Brandon J writes, difference with DQ in Dallas compared to Washington. Y'all already have dogs on your D line that can stop the run at an elite level. We did not. Plus, he knows the division advantage Washington. That's what I've been trying to explain to the fan base, is that we got dudes that can stop the run. We go 4 deep at defensive tackle with dudes that can stop the run. So I'm not as concerned about not being able to stop the run. Dallas didn't have what we have. And I said that literally yesterday. They don't have Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, John Ridgeway, or Fedarian Mathis. And I know y'all don't love Fedarian Mathis, but he can stop the run too. We go 4 deep at D tackle. I'm not as concerned about stopping the run. Our dudes stop the run. It's the rest of the damn defense I'm concerned about. Tizzy Bang, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Tizzy Bang, thank you for being a member of the MOBB writes, he's not like Rivera. His defense was legit, and we got the D tackles to actually stop the run. Had time in between head coaching tenures. F it. Give EB another year with Sam Draft, O-line, and BPA. Tizzy Bang, you got to let that shit go, bro. You got to let it go, man. You got to let that shit go, man. Let that EB shit, let that Sam shit go, bro. I had to let it go, bro. Let it go. It's okay. Let it go. Let it go. Jay Hunter Lee, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Jay Hunter Lee writes, well, think of Bill Belichick in Cleveland before finding success in New England. I'm trying here, Lou. I'm trying to change my thoughts. And look, I'm not telling you he's the next Bill Belichick. I'm not telling you he's the next Andy Reid or the next Pete Carroll or the next Mike Shanahan, all of which found their best success in the success that we know them to have had in their second stops, right? I'm not telling you that he's any of them. I'm simply just saying you can't write him off because he's a retread. Can't do that. That's all I'm saying. A lot of coaches' second act was their best act. Dick Vermeil was much better the second time around as the head coach of the Rams. You just don't know what it's going to look like the second time around. Benjamin Bellamy, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Benjamin writes, I ain't getting down with this. I'm done. For Josh Harris to put together this team of advisors to come up with Dan Quinn, shaking my effing head. Tired of this organization letting me down time and time again. I'm out. Stephen Kinsler, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Stephen writes, good hire, bring Harris name D4 DB coach. We'll see what hires ultimately come of this hire. We'll see what they decide to do in terms of filling out the staff. I'm really intrigued to see, like, is he picking from all over the place? Is he picking from previous stops? Normally, there's some sort of interaction and overlap with the guys that you bring in, but I'm interested to see how this looks. Does he reach back to Dallas and grab a few coaches there? Does he reach back in his time from Atlanta? Does he reach back in his time from Seattle? Does he reach back, from Florida when he was the Gators defensive coordinator there? And maybe there's a couple of coaches that have, grown and progressed, and they're at different stages now. And I'm anxious to see what it looks like. Rocky D, thank you for being a member for 14 months of the MOBB. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, rumored Chip Kelly may be in the running as OC. I saw that. I don't believe shit. I've already told you what the mantra and motto is. Like, none of that shit moves the needle for me until it happens. None of that even begins to scratch the surface for me. People put anything on social media, and a lot of y'all eat that shit up. Like, y'all got to start vetting these sources. If you don't do anything else, at least click on the damn source of the tweet and look at his bio, look at his past tweets, look at his activity, and see if there's an agenda there. Y'all don't even do that shit. You see it and you go, oh shit, at LouieTeeNetwork, eyeball emoji, and send this shit to me. And I'm like, bro, did you even check to see what this shit is? Don't send me this shit. I saw it. We'll see what happens. Love, history. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, do you think this changes what we do it to? No, I don't. Not one bit. What could change what we do it to is if the coordinator that they hire offensively comes in and says, no, I love Sam Howell. Let me work with him for a little bit. That's what could change this. But again, the general manager is in control of all of this. And if he says, nah, I'm good on Sam, let me get this quarterback, stop playing, which you have to do. Like, I understand that you would love to see what Sam can do with better coaching, better offensive line, all that good stuff. You can't assume you're going to be this high in the draft again. Your goal is to never draft this high again on your own. Now, whether you make a trade with somebody and that pick that you traded with them for a future pick turns out to be the number 2 overall pick, like Chicago did, that's another situation. But you drafting your own selection, you don't want to be drafting 2nd overall again. That's the goal, to never be this high again. So you got to take the quarterback. You got to. King Dre, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. King Dre writes, Lou, I know you said maybe they're waiting for Steve Wilkes. I was wrong. But this hire, I'm not mad. Can't say I'm happy yet. But all I know is who is going to be our OC, and can he stay loyal like Ben Johnson is to the Lions? Nah, I don't expect coaches to be loyal to the team that helped them get an opportunity to be a head coach. I wouldn't. You wouldn't. If you've coached your entire career for an opportunity to be a head coach, and an opportunity comes along that you feel like is a good one, and that I think is what it ultimately boiled down to, is he's not an alpha, he's a beta. He wasn't ready, and he didn't love the opportunities. That's what it boils down to. Is he might not have been ready, he might not be an alpha, but if the opportunity was one that he thought was in his best interest, he would have took it. I just don't think he thought Seattle nor Washington was a good enough opportunity for him to leave Detroit. And he's within his right to feel that way. I can't be mad at him for that. But I'm not looking for the next man to be loyal to us. If you killed it at your previous employment, and a new opportunity for you to make more money, for you to get a different title that is greater than the one you currently own comes up, are you going to turn that down? Nah. And I wouldn't ask somebody else to do that. King of the Bluegrass, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, GM, draft, free agency, then coach. That's my order of importance for the offseason. So now we know. Let's freaking go. So let's analyze that. GM, the draft. So you put more stock into the players. So the GM, which is the person picking the players, then the draft and free agency, which again fit the narrative of GM is important because he's picking the players, and then the coach. So this is down the pecking order for you. So you're not as, you're as sold and tied to this decision, and you're not really tripping about it. I get it. Metaphor. Thank you for being a member for 29 months. Who writes, we went from Rivera to Ron Rivera. Woohoo! I don't know. We went from Rivera to Rivera. I know we went from Ronald Rivera to Dan Quinn. Is it going to end up being a Spider-Man situation? I don't know. Only one way to find out, though, right? Only one way to find out. C-Trail. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, well, at least we got the edge on Dallas now. Yeah, maybe. Maybe we do. Maybe we don't. We'll see. Kino, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, y'all saw Jahan's tweet to Micah? I didn't. But you know, those are Penn State boys. They go back and they get down with one another. So it was probably some kind of friendly banter back and forth. That you know that Dan Quinn was Micah's boy. So he probably said something about, hey, we got your boy now. I don't know. I didn't see it, but you know, they're going to probably be having a little fun with each other. Al Butts, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Al writes, been away for a minute, Lou. Where do we go at OC now? Stick with EB? No. That's not even an option. Look elsewhere? Have to. If so, either way, got to embrace Quinn. The D will be better. You'd like to think that the defense would be better, but I got to see it. I'm not making any assumptions. The only thing I will say is that he's been in the division and he knows the inner workings of the Dallas Cowboys. He knows Mike McCarthy's offense and how it operates. So that does give us a distinct advantage over Dallas. The Eagles have changed their offense, so he won't be able to just say, well, we know the Eagles' offense. He knows their parts. He knows how they operate. He knows A.J. Brown. He knows Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert and all of the guys that are there and Jalen Hurts. And so there is an advantage there. And he knows the Giants. They couldn't even score on him last year. So that is an advantage, if nothing else. He's been in the division for 3 years. So, and he has intel on all 3 divisional foes. That's a good thing. They got to go find an OC outside of the building. So, yes, they're going to have to look elsewhere. Layla Brown, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? But all jokes aside, as long as EB isn't the OC, thumbs up. I'm right there with you. I couldn't agree with you more. As long as he ain't here, let's just see what the next guy got. I'm all for it. Zoe Life, No Life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, both Quinn and Peters can hit gems at linebacker at least. Now, they did have some gems in Atlanta with Witherspoon and Deion Jones out of LSU. They had some really good linebacker play in Atlanta when Quinn was there. My friend told me he's going to get dogs and hard hitters on defense, just needs stability on offense. I already told you. I was actually a fan of Atlanta's defense when he was there. They were fast. They were physical. They were light, though. You know, they were light, which is how he likes them. But we got some dogs already here. That's the good thing, interior-wise. But he's going to find some dudes, man. Like, he knows what he's looking for. He knows what kind of defensive players he's looking for. That's one thing I know about Dan Quinn. Metro Cash wants some more. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, we just got to wait and see. Simple. That's it. That's all you can do. Trust the process and wait and see. That's it. Pretty simple. Cut and dry. CR7's the GOAT. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, I haven't been alive to witness a Washington playoff win. Just want to experience one. You're going to get one eventually, man. It's coming. I can't tell you when, but it's coming, right? And when it finally gets here, it's going to be sweet. And again, that ain't all we hunting after. We not hunting after one playoff win. The Giants won one playoff game, last year, right? Like, you want more than that. And then they went right back to being the Giants this year. Like, you want more than that. You want consistency. You want stability. You want the ability to be able to win every single year. That's what you want to be able to go into the season as a Super Bowl contender every single year. That's the goal, ultimately. That's what we're striving towards. Is Dan Quinn the man to take us in that direction? Hang in there, CR7 the GOAT. Hang in there. Spicy Kicks Hawaii. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, at Dan Quinn, we need you. We want you. We gonna have you. Oh, you stupid, man. You stupid. Ramallah Levy, stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB mob. Y'all know what to do. Show Ramallah love. Welcome Ramallah with open arms. Ramallah Levy, welcome to the squad. Glad to have you. Derek B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I'm only 3 weeks from laughing my ass off at this man, shaking my head and let's effing go. You're 3 weeks removed from watching that debacle against the Packers and saying, oh my God, what just happened to this Cowboys defense? And 3 weeks later, here we are talking about this man being our head coach. I did not see this coming. This is definitely a curveball. Now, again, I had time to process this yesterday, as did you. Some of you were in denial. So now you're processing it in real time, and we're watching your emotions, your raw emotions play out. You had a chance to process it yesterday and allow all of those emotions to flow out of you yesterday so that you could be a lot calmer, woosah, today. But you chose violence instead. You chose to bury your head in the sand, come up with alternatives, and now today you chose violence. I can't make this stuff up. King Dre, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, who writes, then after we figure out OC, we can see what they're going to do with the number 2 and the rest of the staff. Please fire EB Quinn. He will. He will. Barrett Downing, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy BD, double up. Thank you for doubling up, who writes, I'm down with it, especially if we can become a legitimate franchise. Well, that's the point. That's the point. Every one of the 8 teams that hired a head coach this offseason hired that coach with the intent of that guy helping them turn their fortunes around. We're no different than the Raiders or the Panthers or the Chargers or the Patriots, etc., etc. They all left this process feeling like we got the right guy. Now we'll see. Mr. Crank 90. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, who writes, Lou, been wanting to catch you live since the Ben J upset. Do you think AP could have hinted the idea of building around Sam and not drafting a quarterback? I haven't heard any such intel. We'll see. We don't know how he feels. I don't think anybody has just flat out asked him how he feels about Sam Howell or the quarterbacks for that matter. I assume that those questions will start this week at the Senior Bowl, and we'll have to listen to his answers. to see if we can gain any insight as to how he's feeling. But the prevailing thought, looking at his drafts in San Francisco and looking at how the NFL works, the likelihood is they're going to pull the trigger on a quarterback at 2. Again, assuming that they love one of those guys, whether it's Caleb Williams at 1 and that opportunity presents itself, or he decides to roll with Drake May or Jaden Daniels. Either way, I assume he's going to draft a quarterback. That's my assumption. We'll see. Excuse me, the one and only Bravo. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, being a fan of this team is exhausting. Yeah, it is. Nobody ever said it was going to be easy. When I first started, I had an intro. And I had this little monologue speech that I gave in my intro. And the intro was way too long. And people used to kill me for it. But when you're a creative, you think, I don't care what you think. I'm going to do it anyway. I had to learn that, no, you better care what they think. That's the viewing population. If you turn them off in the first minute 30 of your video because you got this long-ass intro, they're not coming back. But I did this long, drawn-out speech with this, battlefield music behind it as the backdrop. At that time, it was the Redskins report, right? And one of the things I said was, being a fan of this team, something, nobody ever said it was going to be easy, right? But we got. Something to that effect. It is exhausting. It is tough being a fan of this team, but you knew what you signed up for. You knew what you signed up for. And again, this is no tougher than what you've endured the past 25 years with Dan Snyder. So we forge forward. We're in a much better place than we have been in pretty much 2 decades. Let's just see where it goes. Dave's Big World, or Big Dave's World, excuse me. I don't know how I botched that. Big Dave's World. Stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB Big Dave's World. Welcome to the squad. Mob, y'all know what to do. Show Big Dave some love. Welcome to the squad. Big Dave's World. Mr. Pink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, intel on Dallas? Okay. Also, his nickname is DQ. It's not nasty like Dan, and if he sucks, we can joke about having hired the Dairy Queen of the Cowgirls. I'm optimistic, but now fire Mr. Extremely Buns. Yeah, man. It is DQ. A lot of people call him DQ. And I'm probably going to join that group. I'm not calling him Dan. I know that much. All right. I'm scarred. I got PTSD. That 3-letter name right there. Not when I'm talking about this team. Can't do it. Won't do it. Can't win with it. Won't win with it. Kino, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Kino writes, AP and Quinn's ties to Kyle Shanahan gets us Clint? ? Maybe. I can't answer that. But I guarantee you Adam Peters has some guys in mind. Part of why I think there were so many defensive coaches, and this is just me coming up with a theory. I have no information that led me to this. This is just me throwing out a theory, throwing a dart at the board. I think part of the reason why there were so many more defensive candidates that Washington interviewed versus offensive. They only interviewed 2 offensive guys. It was Slowick and it was Johnson. That was it. The rest were all defensive guys. All of them. The reason why I think that they had so many defensive guys is because Adam Peters has a Rolodex of young, talented offensive minds that he had in mind for the offensive coordinator position. And because of that, because he was so confident he could help get a guy here, he wasn't too concerned like a lot of us were about finding the right offensive mind. Which is Ben Johnson, again, was the preference because Adam Peters came from San Francisco. The head coach there is an offensive-minded guy in Kyle Shanahan. And what he's seen Kyle be able to do, knowing that the defensive coordinators all left to get jobs, but Kyle remained the constant. And because of that, there was continuity with the offense. That's why he wanted Ben Johnson. I'm convinced of that. But he wasn't going to limit who he was looking for to just the offensive side because of that, knowing that he still had guys that he's worked with, seen flourish, understands that these guys have talent as offensive play callers, or has the potential to be because of their smart football acumen. I think he's confident that he can help assemble a really good offensive staff along with Dan Quinn. But we'll see. That's just me guessing. Donald Bonner, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, we wanted people to stay. Front office tried. Let's get behind Quinn. Never know if he can be great, essentially. We'll see. Just saying. That's it. Like, we don't know. We don't know. If you're basing all of your decisions off of his past history, again, that's fair. I'm not telling you you're being unreasonable, because as I mentioned, when you go to the bank and you ask them to take out a sizable loan, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to pull your credit history. Can I trust you? What is your credit score? Why is your credit score this low? No, I can't loan you this money, because what your credit score and your credit history says to me is I can't trust you with this money. I'm not getting it back. If they look at your credit report and your credit history and it's pristine, hey, yeah, I can run you this bread because I know I'm going to get it back with interest. So I'm good with that. His history is there. It's not a sparkling one. Thus, people aren't trustworthy right now. They're skeptical, as they should be. All I've asked and all I say that you should do is just to give it a chance. Don't condemn it before it happens. Just give it a chance. But you can do what you want to do. I'm not going to stop you. Okay. I'm not going to try and stop you. Be right. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Be right writes, get an OC from the Shanahan tree, then I'll be good. And that may happen. Who knows? We'll see. Big Dave's World. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Once again, thank you for being the newest member of the MOBB. Lang Hughes. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, main reason it's not Ron 2.0 is organizational structure site. If you ask me, that is without a shadow of a doubt why this is different. Not because Dan Quinn himself is different. We don't know if he is or not. If this same hire were made by Daniel Snyder and company, Bruce Allen was still here, whatever, then I would probably be just as irate as you are. That the ones of you out there who are going crazy right now, I'd probably be just as upset and disappointed and mad, because nothing's going to change. It's the same old, same old. This is different because organizationally, we're not the same. We're in a much better, much healthier position now than we have been, arguably, since Jack Kent Cooke was the owner of this organization and Joe Gibbs was the head coach. You got to go all the way back to 1992 for those two things to be true. So, honestly speaking, I feel good about where we are. I've been told y'all that, though. Hines86 Art. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Hines86 Art writes, we thought we had the answer to our offense when we got EB and he was fresh from a Super Bowl, so who knows? And that's one of the points that I've been trying to make is we don't know what we don't know. We thought that Ben Johnson was going to be the man here, but we don't know if he's going to be a great head coach or not. We know he's a great offensive coordinator. We don't know if he's a great head coach. We don't. So let's just see what happens. We were wrong about EB last year. Let's just see what happens. Carlos Baladeres. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Carlos writes, with the number 1 pick of the 2025 NFL draft, the Washington Commanders select. Oh, man. You guys are hilarious. The one and only Bravo. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, we have to win soon. We're lucky there are any fans left. We're like 5 more years away from losing, throwing the whole franchise away. At this point, I don't know. I don't know if there's too many dummies like myself who aren't going anywhere. You know, glutton for punishment. Call me what you want. Had Dan still been the owner of this team, that statement to me would have been valid. But with this new structure, with this new group, all I've ever advocated for was giving them a chance. And I saw this coming a mile away. And I said it before Josh Harris even had his first press conference. I said, you know what sucks about this situation is Josh Harris is walking into a shitstorm. A storm of epic proportions. And the good thing is he doesn't see the shit that I see on a daily basis. He's above all of this noise, right? It's a lot of noise here at surface level. He's above that shit. So he doesn't know. He feels it. He may feel it a little bit, but where he is, that's rarefied air, right? He's a part of the 1%ers. He don't feel the shit down here. So at the end of the day, they were promoting sellouts at the games. 40% of the crowd was Washington Commander fans. The other 60 at these sellouts were from the opposing team's fan base. He's still going to make that money. He's still going to do what he got to do. But he wants it to be 90% Commanders fans. He wants to restore what was once a proud franchise, fan base, winning, all of that. But that shit takes time. It's not going to happen. And he said it himself. And I knew that when he took over, it was just so many different agendas from the fans. Most of us just want to win. Most of us just want to win. The problem with the ones that just want to win is you don't want to go through the process of what it's going to take because you've already suffered enough. And that's not an excuse for the new group to come in here and try to take shortcuts to get you to success. They don't have anything to do with what Daniel Snyder did or didn't do. All they can do is try to do it the right way to ensure that you don't have to go through another 30 years of suffering and losing. If you ask me if I'd rather cut corners and win this upcoming season, win 11 games, make it to the playoffs, and win a game, and then the next 5 years we don't make no noise, we go 7-10, 4 out of the 5 years, and then 1 year we flame out at the end and fire our coach. If you ask me if I'd rather do that than take my lumps for another 2 to 3 years, and then every year we a Super Bowl contender, or every year we go into the playoffs with a shot, you already know what my answer is. That's the end game. Are we going to get there? I don't know. But taking shortcuts and trying to fast track it, I can tell you that's going to lead to nowhere fast. I've seen that done. I watched Snyder do that shit for 2 decades. I know that shit don't work. But again, to each its own. Ramallah Levy, stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB. Mob, y'all know what to do. Show Ramallah some love. Welcome Ramallah with open arms. Welcome to the squad. Ramallah Levy. SL Green. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. SL writes, Cowboys fan, I'm thrilled he's gone. Quinn is crazy stubborn, and his philosophy of nickel being his base defense will have y'all going crazy. That's not going to change here. Our base was nickel. So that we literally had a Buffalo nickel. Our base, we played 2 linebackers as our base defense. That's not going to drive us crazy as much as it is if you don't have the parts to make it work. That's the shit that drives you nuts. We ran a base nickel and didn't have the personnel to run it. At least he had the personnel to run the shit. Sean Blake, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Sean writes, if we keep EB, this is going to be a disaster. Would that get you as upset as I'm feeling at the moment? Slim pickings for the OCs this late in the game. Depends on what you determine is what slim pickings is, and it depends on what pool you picking from. Adam Peters might be picking from a totally different pool of candidates. They might be playing checkers, and he might be out here playing chess at OC. He might have a couple of names. He's like, yo, I know the perfect dude that was in San Francisco as the run game coordinator. I'm about to go get him. You don't know what he's thinking about. You don't know who he's looking at as his next offensive coordinator. It ain't EB, though. It ain't. Yeah, I would be upset. You damn right I would be. Steaming mad. DC Community Carrot. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, DC Community, until winning starts, Dan Quinn poaching Michael Parsons is the only way I like this hire. Louie T, there is a dark horse OC for hire, college or NFL. I don't know. I don't have any intel. I've seen a bunch of rumors. Somebody brought up the Chip Kelly one. I'm not buying that shit. A lot of fans have started to gravitate towards Clint Kubiak, which is another Shanahan disciple. There's so many different angles that you could take to this. I'm not going to try to predict anything. I'm going to just wait and see. We're not getting Michael Parsons either. The Cowboys aren't letting him leave. So you don't have to even allow yourself to think about something crazy like that. Joseph's Journey. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, this is how I felt when we drafted Forbes. Yeah. That one was a weird feeling. But I think that's pretty accurate because I had a chance to process that before we did it. The only thing that made that slightly different than this is that the opportunity to get Gonzalez was there. There was no opportunity here. Ben Johnson didn't want us, and McDonald already chose Seattle. So there were no other options other than Anthony Weaver. What made it similar was that I mocked us, Emmanuel Forbes, because they had already told us how they felt about Forbes. And so you could see that one coming a mile away. Just like I predicted Jamin Davis. Why? Because you could see the shit a mile away because they weren't good at hiding their hand. They were holding their shit sloppy. You could see all of the cards that they had in their hand, and they made it abundantly clear, what their agenda and motives were. So I was able to put myself at ease if that was the pick. But then seeing Gonzalez available, which I didn't think was going to happen, it kind of pissed me off. But it is what it is, Just like I said with the Forbes pick, telling you the same thing here. Let's just let it play out and see what happens. I didn't agree with the Forbes pick then. I still don't agree with it now, but I'm not going to rail against it. I'm just going to see what happens. And if it doesn't work, we can be critical. Those guys won't be here. And the ones that are still here, we can be hypercritical of them because they're still in the front office as we speak right now, both of the Martys. Eric Stokes is still here. We watched the video of Eric Stokes walking over to Martin Mayhew. Gonzalez is still on the board. And him telling and Martin Mayhew looking up at him like, I know. And then he says, hey, but I would still take Forbes. And Mayhew looking up and saying, I was going to do that anyway. Like they was killing the game or some shit. All of their asses are still here. If the shit don't work, we can be hypercritical of them. Etsy Dan, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, I'm just happy it's not EB. Let's go Quinn. HTTR. We'll see. Hunter Hodovic, thank you for being a member for 22 months. Who writes, sup T, sup Hunter. Long time, bro. It has been a little while. Hope you and yours are well. Likewise, Hunter. Likewise. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, can't say I'm thrilled with this, but we got the top GM candidate and we had run out of options, so I can't be mad either. Give Quinn a chance. That's, to me, I don't know how you can view this. If you don't just off face value, just love the hire, or you're going to support no matter what, even if you disagree with this, how is that not the approach? Right there. That's all I'm saying. You don't have to love it. Green Wingman, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Lord, is it me or are we just swapping each other's sloppy seconds when it comes to coordinators? I don't know. I don't know. I don't feel like everybody else in the division is taking each other's coordinators, but it does, it does feel like everybody in the division is getting somebody else's table scraps, so to speak. But we'll see. We'll see how it works out. Wait a minute. No way. Is that why you just said that? Did Ron really go to Dallas? No way. He did not. Stop it. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Let me see if I can grab something here. I don't see anything right now, but Dallas has to find a new defensive coordinator. I would be weak if they got Ronald Rivera. I would love it if he went there. And in that case, Green Wingman, if that were the case, then we would be trading each other sloppy seconds. I don't see Dallas doing that, though. That would be stupid on their part. That's some nasty work, Booty Creek Cheek Freak said. I don't see anything that can confirm that. But if that is the case, that is some really nasty work for sure. Green Wingman, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? And you were already said this. You doubled up on this super. I would assume that Dallas would just promote from within. They got guys that they like over there. Al Harris probably makes the most sense to me. He got a lot of pub this year for Deron Bland going off and him being, and he's actually done a really good job with those corners. It started with Trayvon Diggs. Remember, he was an ex-college wide receiver. He had only been playing cornerback for like 2 years when they drafted him. And you could see it. He was raw, rough around the edges. He cleaned him up, made him into a very good NFL corner. Still a little, susceptible to the double move and things of that nature, but a really good corner. And then obviously Deron Bland. So I would assume somebody like that would get the nod before they go outside the building and hire a guy like Ron Rivera. That doesn't make any sense to me, but we'll see. We are cursed by the gods. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, leftovers, Lou, leftovers. Hopefully they're the ones that taste better after the seasoning sets in overnight like spaghetti. How many years he signed for? I'm assuming he's going to get a 5-year deal. When teams acknowledge that it's a rebuild, it's 6 normally, but I'm going to go with the 5-piece. We don't know yet. We haven't been told yet, but we'll get that information at some point, either today or tomorrow. We'll find out if it's a 5-piece or 6. I'm assuming it's going to be a 5. William Lee, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I say keep EB and Sam, get a stud wide receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr., and keep Leno at left tackle. Anything with keep EB, I'm going to just keep going. I'm not even going to respond to it. Edward Washington, been a member for 26 months. What's up, Lou? What's up, Ed? Says Quinn is not exciting, but is solid. That's the part that is, I think, sort of refreshing, sort of, kind of, is they were going to make the splash exciting hire initially, and we would have all been thrilled by it and excited for it in Ben Johnson. They didn't get it. He turned us down. And the Daniel Snyder move there would have been to pivot immediately to McDonald and throw as much money as you can and get him to come here. And that would have appeased everyone. But they didn't do that. They could have. They knew in enough time to be able to pivot to Mike McDonald and say, bro, you're our guy. Before he even went to meet with Seattle the next day. They would have been lying, and McDonald might have seen right through it, but they didn't do it. They went with the guy that they thought made the best sense for where they're going right now, and I can respect that. It ain't sexy. The fans aren't going to love it, but it may be exactly what we need, and I've said that already. We don't know. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, as long as we get a good OC, then I'll be happy. That's going to be important. Commandalorian, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, who writes, we just took the second L for their 2024 season, shaking my damn head. For the 2024 season. I would ask you what was the first one. I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. Filthy Rich 007. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, you think Frank Smith can call plays? And this guy was rated #1 on the list of offensive coordinators by the NFLPA, right? I don't know if he can call plays or not, man. This is the thing that I was like, throw that damn list out the window. This shit is garbage. I don't even know if he's a good play caller or not. We don't know. We just know he's directly, and he might be excellent. And that NFLPA poll might be spot on. Only one way to find out, right? Only one way to find out. HTTR for life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. HTTR for life writes, the one person I didn't want out of the coaching candidates was Quinn. I thought things were finally changing. We're moving laterally, not forward. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't think we would end up here under no circumstances. I told you I had an encounter with someone on socials that said, if we get Quinn, I'm going to, yada, yada, yada. I was like, bro, don't hurry. We're not getting Dan Quinn, man. And we got Dan Quinn. We got Dan Quinn. I mean, what do you want me to do, man? I'm sorry. I didn't see this coming. But I'm so appreciative that the football gods saw fit to bless me yesterday with the foresight to be able to sit down and process it, because had they just hired him without me having a chance, I might have been reacting like some of y'all. I still would have been with the vision. I wouldn't have been talking about, oh, we're going to go 5-12 next year and we're going to be right back here 3 years from now. I just would have been upset. I would have been disappointed. Sort of like how I was when I found out about Ben Johnson. I was disappointed, right? I wasn't flipping over tables and, swearing up and down that Adam Peters is a terrible GM, this, that, and the third. I wasn't cussing out Ben Johnson and talking about he's this and he's that. I can't stand him. He's now on my list of guys that I'll root against. None of that shit. I was just disappointed. And that's what I would have been today had I not had a chance to brace myself. G Dead Fan 88. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, let's go. It's done now. Time to move ahead. We should be good. I've been a fan since 81, so I'm ready to move ahead with a good GM like back then. And at the end of the day, that's kind of where my focus is okay, we hired the coach. I was ready to just get this shit over with, to be honest with you. This shit was exhausting. This process was exhausting. I just wanted it to be over. We were the last ones to get a seat. I just wanted to sit down. My legs were tired. All right, now we're sitting down. Now we can focus on the rest of the offseason. Let's fill out the staff. Let's start turning our attention to free agency. Then we can turn our attention to the draft, and let's see what we got when the dust settles and the smoke clears. King of the Bluegrass, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. King of the Bluegrass writes, you nailed it, Lou. Kudos. And a rebuild, it's the roster who's building it. In today's NFL, coaches may be last 2 years if not successful. Well-built rosters make average coaches great. And we'll see. I mean, your philosophical belief is that the GM and then the players that he picks via free agency in the draft are way more important than the coach. And we'll see. I don't diminish the coach's relevance in this league like I do in the NBA. Coaches come a dime a dozen in the NBA. The players run the league. And so I think it's no more evident than what just happened with the Milwaukee Bucks. Adrian Griffin has the Bucks at 34 or 30-13 and 3 games behind the Celtics at the time of his firing. And they moved on from him because the players didn't like him, didn't like his philosophical belief. But yet you're second in the East. They didn't even let the shit finish and play itself out. Moved on from him because coaches come a dime a dozen. The players run the league. You got to appease the superstars. If Giannis doesn't like the coach, you got to get rid of him, or you risk losing Giannis, right? Can't do that. So you got to get rid of the coach. That's not how it is in the NFL. The coaches really play a pivotal part in your success. And if you have a really good coach, you have a chance to win in this league. But players are definitely what ultimately get the job done for you. You can only do so much as a coach. So I agree with you. I don't like diminishing the role of a coach because I think coaching is important. But the players are the ones that's ultimately going to get it done for you. And the guy that's picking the players is important, right? He's the chief of everything. He's chiefly important because he's the one making those decisions on said players that are either going to win or lose you games. So I get it. Tizzy Bang, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Tizzy Bang, who writes, I rock with you because you're not only a Skins fan, but we usually agree on ball. So I'm pretty sure you're not going to like any of these quarterback prospects except Caleb. May isn't better than Sam. Well, we'll see. You might be right. I might watch and go, ugh, that's nasty. Yeah, you might be right. That's still probably not going to stop them from taking one of these dudes. So, like, it'd have to be, like, I heard Bo Nix is wetting the bed right now. Are you surprised? I'm not. This ain't Oregon. Guys aren't running wide open anymore. Right? I'm not shocked that he's out there stinking it up. But we're going to see. We're going to see. This isn't the 2022 draft where most teams identified the quarterback position as being extremely weak and not worthy of anybody going in the first round except for Kenny Pickett. This isn't that. You're going to see multiple quarterbacks go in the first round. And we're probably going to be one of the teams picking one, more likely than not. We'll see what happens, though. Zoe Life, no life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, you mad if we go Curse over Curl and other Cowboys? No, if that's what makes him comfortable. Curse will cost you a lot less than Cam Curl will. A lot less. J-Ron Curse is solid. I don't love him. But if that's a better fit for his scheme than Cam Curl, do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. I would love to think that Cam Curl would be an adaptable player that Quinn could get a lot out of. But are you willing to pay him the money that he's looking for? Quinn might be like, nah, I can get a dude that can do just the same thing he can do, but for a much cheaper price. Knock yourself out. He was able to do it with a bunch of cast-offs in Dallas. J-Ron Curse was a cast-off. Former top 5 pick Malik Hooker, cast-off, right? He was able to clean them dudes up and not cost you a lot of money to do so. So, what was Donovan Wilson? What was he? Day 3 pick, maybe? Is my guess. Maybe a 3rd rounder, but probably a day 3 pick. Got that man out there balling. Love me some Donovan Wilson. Like, I expect Quinn to be able to do some things. So, I don't know. We'll see. Edward Washington. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Edward writes, do you think that this hire will cause a Cowboy collapse next season since Mike McCarthy can't lean on Quinn? It could. Like a lot of people dismiss how important Dan Quinn was to that Cowboys success. It's not a coincidence that Quinn shows up and it's 12-5, 12-5, 12-5. That's not a coincidence to me. Because even if Dak was healthy that first year, Mike Nolan was awful, and they were going to lose. So I truly believe that Quinn's emergence in Dallas and their success are tied to one another. And without him, I think there could be some struggles. We'll see what they do at defensive coordinator and if they promote from within and they're able to keep those vibes going, and then maybe it won't be as big of a loss. But sometimes it's hard to replace a rock star. Like the Ravens might have a tough time replacing Mike McDonald's impact. We'll see if the Cowboys have a tough time doing it with Dan Quinn. He was very impactful in Dallas. Benjamin Bellamy. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Benjamin. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Right. My bad, Lou. I was just being emotional. It's okay. That's what we're here for. Let it all out. That's why I didn't even get mad at you, bro. Because in the moment, sometimes we say things we don't mean. Words hurt, though. Words hurt. But I wasn't taking that stuff personal. Right? You were upset. This is why I did the video yesterday. Okay. I don't do things for no reason. I don't do things in vain. Everything I do is strategically done to try to help benefit the fan base. But we're here now. What's done is done. You said what you needed to say. You got it off your chest. You sound like you're doing a lot better now. That's what we're here for. It's all good. Stephen Combs, thank you for thank you for being a member for 28 months. Who writes, feels like Wash must do this the hard way. If it was easy, everybody be doing it, right? We never do anything easy. You know that. You've been a fan long enough. You know that. But look, rebuilds from the ground up are never easy. They're always painful. I haven't seen a rebuild that wasn't. It's some dark, lean years. Adam Peters, when he got here, I don't know if he said this when he got here or if I watched something that he did in San Francisco. But he said those early years in San Francisco, they were some dark, dark years. Dark. And if we didn't have the support of ownership, which they're going to have here, he said we wouldn't have made it. Dark, dark years. The Lions started 0-10 in Dan Quinn's or in Dan Campbell's first year. Would this fan base survive 0-10? Would this fan base survive 0-10? I know the answer to that. You know the answer to that. The following year after 0-10, going 3-13-1, would this fan base survive 1-6? I know the answer to that, and you know the answer to that. Without that, you don't get Dan Campbell. You don't get one half of football away, one quarter away from the Super Bowl. But fans don't want to hear that. They just know that the Lions almost made it to the Super Bowl this year. We want that. Are you prepared to go through what the Lions had to go through to get to where they are now? That's always been the question I've had for y'all. A lot of y'all stomachs are weak, man. Shit is weak. A lot of y'all ain't built for this. Etsy Dan, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Etsy Dan, who writes, when Quinn the Eskimo gets here, everybody's going to jump for joy because you ain't seen nothing like the mighty Quinn, HTTR. We'll see. Falcons fans, I know my sister's going to be rooting like hell against us, and she used to be an ally as a Falcons fan. She can't stand Dan Quinn's ass. Not because he was a bad coach, but because he blew 28-3. And everybody that had anything to do with that, she's a woman scorned. She's a fan scorned. So whatever little bit of, oh man, that sucked that y'all lost that game. I was rooting for y'all. That shit's dead now. That shit is dead now. Eddie Behringer, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Eddie B writes, Lou, Eddie B, we have a coach shaking dice over my head. Come on, Adam Peters, roll them. Speaking a better organization into reality. Let's do it. You know I'm all about speaking things into existence and good juju, good vibes. I'm about all of that, man. So let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm with it. Big Dave's World. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Big Dave, who writes, hey, Lou, what do you think about Martindale as DC? Nah, I talked about that already, Big Dave. Not today, but in a previous video. Not interested in Wink Martindale. As matter of fact, I talked about it extensively during the going shopping for a defensive coordinator video because I thought we were getting Ben Johnson. So we were shopping for defensive coordinators. He was already in the cart. We got to the checkout and we noticed that the packaging was cracked. Maybe somebody tampered with it. So we went and put the shit back. Actually, Ben Johnson was like, no, put me back on the shelf, bro. But that's the story I'm going to tell my kids. Right? I talked about Wink Martindale. I'm not interested. We went through all the defensive coordinators that I thought could be in play here. And he was one of them. And I'm saying no to Wink. Wilfredo Elias, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Wilfredo writes, it is what it is. Let's roll these boys. HTTC. I will never utter that phrase again. not from my own free will. If somebody super chats it, it is what it is. But I will not utter those words from my own free will. Not after the way last year went. CR7's the GOAT. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, think we opt for a young offensive guy or older? Young is where I think they go. I mean, understand where we're going. This is going to be a young team. This is going to be a rebuilding program. You want young. You want to grow. You want somebody to grow with what you're doing, right? So expect young. Look at what Houston did, right? Look at what Detroit did. They went young. Why? Because Houston didn't expect what they did last year. No, they could lie to you and tell you that they didn't expect that. They did not expect. They fell into that. And then the players started to believe. They bought in. Winning begets winning, and you build confidence. And all of a sudden, they started believing, right? They didn't know that they were going to do what they did last year. You want young. You want young. Necro Horror. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. And thank you for the generosity. Really, truly do appreciate you, Necro Horror, who writes, I'm lost on the fan mentality that we would have been a winner had we gotten Johnson, yet who's never been a head coach. This is going well. Let's see where it continues to head, because I like where this is heading. With Quinn, we're guaranteed to lose, ? How? ? I like the experience factor rather than none at all. Nothing but the best for you and yours, my brother. I appreciate that. And I love this comment. I'm not going to sit here and act like I would not have been over the moon had we gotten Johnson. And I made that abundantly clear. I wanted Ben Johnson. Period. Ben Johnson did not want us. And he's not, and it doesn't seem like he's an alpha. And if he's not an alpha, we might have dodged a bullet. Can't say that we did, but it feels like we might have. At the end of the day, I wanted to see what the Ben Johnson experience was going to be, as most of you wanted to. However, you didn't know if he was going to be good or not. So the fact that you would have been over the moon for that hire, but you're at the opposite end of the spectrum for this hire, and it's going to be a disaster without even seeing what happens, it's a tough sell for me. Just like it's a tough sell for you as a fan of this team that Dan Quinn's going to be any different than Ron Rivera. It's a tough sell for me that you're that far apart on the spectrum. It's not crazy that you are on the excited end, all the way at the excited end of the spectrum, right? But to go all the way to the opposite end because of Dan Quinn is crazy to me. Maybe the middle, right? Maybe you're lukewarm on this. To go all the way to this is a disaster. We're just like when we had Dan Snyder as our owner. That's mind-boggling to me, man. But I'm not surprised. It's why I did the video the other day when I said that the kitchen was dirty, let me clean, and then I need to cook because I knew this was going to happen. And I got all of my vitriol out of the way already. I cleansed my body of that venom that I was feeling at that time. I need to keep my aura nice and clean and glowing, okay? Only positive vibes. So I cleansed myself of that because I saw it coming a mile away. I know my fan base. That's one thing I know. I know my family members. I know how they conduct themselves. When a little bit of adversity hits, I know how family reacts. Necro Horror, thank you for the super chat. Couldn't have said it any better myself. Ramallah Levy, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ramallah Levy, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Brian N, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Lou, it is what it is. Hope Quinn gives a Dan Campbell type intro. Now on to the staff, free agency, and the draft. Never a dull moment in Ashburn. Hashtag biting kneecaps. He's not going to do that. That's not who he is. You already, so this is what we talked about this already. You already have a body of work from Dan Quinn. You know how he's going to conduct himself. You know how he's going to move. He's going to tweak some things because if you don't learn from your past, you're doomed to repeat it. So he's going to learn from some of the mistakes he made the first time, but he's not going to come out here. He's an excited guy. He's a very emotional guy, and you'll feel his excitement when he talks. But he's not going to talk about biting off kneecaps. That's not who he is. Okay. Dan Campbell's a one of a kind. He's a different dude. He's a one of one, and the Lions are lucky to have him. Rel Goated, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Rel writes, the players won't even buy into EB if they make EB the OC. Terry and Han will give up before we take the field in September. That's why I said this group is smart enough to understand and read the room and understand what an epic fail Eric Bieniemy was. He doesn't get any different treatment than Sam does. I look at him the same way I looked at Sam, and I said, everybody got 1 year to figure this shit out. Ronald, Eric, Jack, Sam. I looked at all of them, and I said, this is it. You got 1 year to prove that you belong. And if you can't do it, all of y'all will be gone. Sam, you'll still be here, but you won't be the starter. And that's where we're at right now. EB can't be here, and he won't be. King of the Bluegrass, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you, Bluegrass. King of Bluegrass writes, I agree. The coach is extremely important. For me, you build a great, strong army, then bring a great general in to lead the troops. I don't disagree with that. Or you could have a great general, go get the troops, and then that great general can train those troops to become the troops he needs them to be. You can look at it from two different perspectives, but at the end of the day, you still need the troops that are capable of getting the job done. Reedy Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Reedy Davis writes, so Lou, what's the name going to be? DQ, not Dan. DQ is it. You can call him Quinn. You can call him DQ. I'm not calling him Dan. Not calling him Dan. Not doing it. Let's just roll with DQ. Let's just roll with DQ. And when we beat somebody, they're disqualified. They got DQ'd. Yeah, that's corny, but I like it. I like it a lot. Drinkable Measy, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Drinkable Measy writes, do you think this was a panic hire? No, I don't. Was this their first hire? No, it wasn't. Is it a panic one? No. What would have been a panic hire is hiring Mike McDonald. That would have been a panic hire. We wouldn't have viewed it as such, but that's what Daniel Snyder would have done. He would have panicked and thrown as much money and resources into getting Mike McDonald here. This shows that they were measured, they were taking their time, and they were okay with the results of their search. They were okay. Video channel, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Video channel writes, Lou, you're going to start wearing cap backwards like DQ? Probably not. I mean, I could, but I probably won't. I mean, I that used to be a thing for me. I used to wear my hats backwards, but I really don't anymore. But hey, we win enough games, I'll turn that bitch backwards. But he's not gonna wear his cap backwards anymore. You could do, like, being a coordinator is like being a substitute teacher. You can do whatever the hell you want to do. When you're the head coach, you got to present yourself in a different way. I bet you he don't wear his cap backwards no more. He might wear it backwards at practice, maybe, but he's going to present himself in a different manner. When you're the face of a franchise, you can't be wearing your hat backwards. So I don't think he's going to be doing that. You're not going to see him on the sidelines calling a game with his hat turned backwards, right? That ain't happening. If he got a cap on, it'll be facing front, more likely than not. But you know, we'll see. He won enough games. I'll turn that bitch backwards. You're damn right. HTTR for life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Who writes, Peters is one of the only things keeping me sane. Hey, that hire is the reason that most of us still feel really good about this offseason. Understand that without it, what's different? The structure is different. Peters is different. That's what's different. Josh Harris is different. There's a lot of things going well for this organization right now. Too many of you are prisoners of the moment. You can't see past this hire to see all of the changes that are being made. You're stuck on this right here. Open your eyes, open your mind, and see what's happening. Stop having tunnel vision. Donald Bonner. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Donald writes, any thoughts on a second and fourth or fifth for Fields, then building a line? I don't want anything to do with Justin Fields. That is a step backwards. His rookie contract is almost up. You're going to have to pick up the fifth-year option, which is a lot of money. And he's not a quarterback that I think you can win big with in this league. And if you can, good for you. But I'm not looking to do any more experiments with a quarterback going into his fourth season in the league. I'd rather try with Jaden Daniels. If you're going to trade for Justin Fields, why not just draft Jaden Daniels? I'd much rather take my chances with the young quarterback than to go after Justin Fields. T. Roy, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, Scott Turner as OC. I kid. You better be kidding. If you, again, that's akin to EB being back. That's a moving violation right there that can't be forgiven. We got to put a boot on your shit. All right. You bring back Scott Turner or you bring back EB, we got to put a boot on your shit. You can't move. All right. That was the last super. So the question is, do we even need to go live tonight? I may be back. We were supposed to go live tonight. I had a feeling they would make a decision. I thought it would be Dan Quinn. I thought it would be today. But I didn't know what time of day it would be. We might still go live tonight. More might come out. More things may come out. There may be more conversations to be had. We'll see. I'll decide. You'll know in advance if we're going to go live or not. And I'll probably post it on socials to let you know. But you'll see the video, the link, and you'll be notified on YouTube, or I would hope you would. But you know how that is. It's hit or miss. We'll see what else comes out, and we'll have a chance to hear from people. People will react, and I might have more to say. later on this evening. So we'll see. But in any event, Dan Quinn is the new head coach of the Washington Commanders. Gotcha, bitch. That's what it feels like. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Metaphor, thank you for being a member of the MOBB rights. Lou, it's been a long moment, 30-year sentence. And that's what it's going to feel like when we finally win. Like we just got out. We just got out of prison. It'll sink in when we finally win. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. Anyway, I digress. Y'all get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And look, I'm pretty sure you will be glued to your social, your mobile devices and, social media, and you'll be checking to see all of the different things that are being said and things that are going on. And if there's anything really to talk about, anything more to add to this, if they start talking about potential coordinators or coaches that may be joining his staff and we get inkling of some of that stuff, we'll be live again tonight. But for the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day. Process all of this, okay? If you're going crazy, it'll be okay. It'll be all right. But until then, y'all take care. Gotcha, bitch.